The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ralph Tycho with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and it's my privilege to introduce another episode of God's Miracle with Randy Lerch.
Thank you, Ralph. This is Randy Lerch, and welcome to my show, God's Miracle. I call the show God's Miracle because after years of drug and alcohol abuse and being diagnosed with cirrhosis, God has given me a second chance in life to write a book called God in the Bullpen and be able to have this podcast thanks to Ralph Tycho. My special guest today is comedian and evangelist Dennis Gaxiola. Dennis served in the United States Air Force for 20 years. He has been a comedian for 27 and is also an evangelist spreading the Word of God. First of all, thank you for your service, Dennis, and welcome to the show, my friend. It's an honor for me to have you here today.
Thank you, Randy. It's an honor to be with you today.
First of all, or second of all, after first of all, can you tell our listeners about yourself and your upbringing?
Well, I was raised in the Bay Area in Berkeley, California, and raised in the church. My dad was a minister. My grandfather was a pastor. I was raised in this big Christian family, and along the way, I got lost for a long time, but thank God for His grace and patience, huh?
That's for sure. You started the Air Force at an early age, but when did the comic side come into play, and when did you know you were funny?
I was in an airman leadership class, and I sat next to this guy that was a comedian and won the Air Force Base's talent show up in Sacramento, and he challenged me to get on stage because I told him I was funnier than him. So he introduced me to stand-up comedy, and it changed my life because we're friends all these years later. And, I went on to have a pretty successful career doing stand-up, able to make a living at it. So I'm appreciative of that meeting with my friend Michael. Well,
I'll tell you what, that had to... he had to really coach you along and get you to do that. I'm getting to know you a little bit, but holy cow, if someone was sitting there, I'd have had to have tons of beers in me in my old drinking days for me to get up there and do something like that. I'll tell you. But it's really worked out. You are one funny guy.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. So, I remember when we first met, it was at the Sacramento Sports Hall of Fame thing, and you started off, they brought you on to kind of loosen the crowd up and get everybody having a good old time. And so I remember when we had the green room over there, and I remember you coming in, and I was shooting the fat with Dusty Baker, and you came in, but the word had already gotten out that, hey, this guy's now be ready. He's coming in to roast your butt. And so, and I'm thinking, oh man, I've seen this stuff on TV. I don't know what he's going to be up to or nothing like that. I hope he goes easy on me. Do you remember he said, hey, Dennis, I don't know you very well, but you better go easy, man.
I learned a powerful lesson from one of the other inductees where he said, he was a football player. He said, go easy because this is my night to shine. And I agreed with him. I got it. So that's why if I have anything to joke about, I try to make sure it's about something that respects the inductee. So yeah, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings on their special night.
Oh, you were kind. You did one with me that I'd heard a million times. I don't know if you remember what you did it, but when it was my turn, you said, me being Lerch from the Addams Family, it was that you rang. Have you ever heard that before? So, what's up with that? You rang.
That's all I had on you, bro. It was like, you know, I knew you had a powerful testimony, and you know, there's nothing funny digging into somebody's past. It has to be on the lightweight service. I don't want to. It's not a roast. It's an induction where I get to tease a little bit, but not roast like you see on TV, where you you know, I want to honor. So the most playful thing I had about you, especially with your height, was and your last name. That was the easiest. I took the easy on you, Randy.
You did. You went easy on me, but I'm not. You know, I'm used to being on the baseball field where you can hear the fans and stuff. But for me, when we were sitting on the stage, and of course you know you're a pro at this, so you're used to it. But the lights were just glaring in my eyes, and it was hard to see too far in the audience, and with the loud noise of music and stuff, it was you know, I could hear bits and pieces. I heard the you rang stuff, that's for sure, but the bits, the other stuff you were doing, and then my family afterwards, and people that would come up, they say, "Oh my goodness, was that guy funny?" So you definitely killed it that night, and
thank you.
It was a fun night. And on top of my friend, I got a new friend out of it, and I'm very grateful.
Well, you know, like I told you before, I'm a big sports fan, so I get a huge kick out of meeting you know, these guys that I used to pay to go see, and you know, as the years go by, you know, that I've become friends with you and Dusty Baker and Bill Cartwright and Tony Lopez and Loreto Garza and all these guys that I've met through the Sacramento Sports Hall of Fame. It's just, I get a huge kick out of it. So, you know, the second time I saw Dusty and that he remembered my name blew me away, because I'm looking at Dusty Baker and he's like, "Hey, Dennis." So I got a big kick out of that.
He's pretty special, that's for sure. I know you are, and for sure me, it's really pulling for him this year. Just seeing the you know, the press reports and stuff like that, and how spring training is going. I know for a fact that Dusty will calm these guys down, and he'll get everybody's mind towards playing baseball. That's for sure.
Nice.
But I was wondering. You know, I see you. I hear your name. I see you on Facebook and stuff, and you are one busy guy. How do you kind of how do you get your schedule to the point where you can do your comedy and then, you know, spread the word of the Lord, and you know, do the evangelism thing and all that stuff? And how do you find time for all that stuff?
Strive for balance, you know, because no matter what aspect of our life, if we are not balanced, I mean, if you're at the church 7 days a week, you're out of balance. You know, if you're at the golf course 7 days a week, you're out of balance. You know, if you eat donuts for 3 meals a day, you're out of balance. So my wife and I divorced when we were kids, and when we reconciled 23 years later, she said, "All I ask for is some of your time." So we you know, we made that a priority, and it taught me balance in other areas of my life. You know, I can't say yes to everything, but I can have balance. So that's one of my goals, you know. And then if I find myself way out of whack, I try to bring it right back to center, you know.
That's amazing to be able to you know, to work both sides and to be able to keep that balance like that. And I think if I understood you correctly, do you also have a child that's playing high school football or something like that?
Yes. My son is playing over in Fairfield. He wanted to go to that school, so he's over in Fairfield High, and he'll be entering his varsity season. He has to wrap up his junior year, but he's a scrapper, and he's a miracle baby. So that he's playing football is just amazing. But he loves it, and he's my only son that went on to play high school sports. The other boys went different routes, but I get a kick out of it.
For sure, I remember seeing my kids as they're growing up, you know, and now I'm, you know, the old man that I am, I'm blessed to see my 4 grandchildren play sports. They're not quite as old. We've got a 7, a 10, a 11, and a 16, and they're all into sports. So I know how you feel. You know, you feel like you're kind of out there yourself when your kids are out there.
Yes, I get I have my oldest grandson. He's 5 years old, and he started karate. And every time he comes over, he's trying to show us his moves. That's just awesome right there, you know, to see them. And my son, he's in his 30s, so he's like, well, you're getting it better. You're getting it right this time. You know, he's like, we were your experiment. I'm like, I was a kid raising kids, you know. So I'm enjoying having the grandkids and still having my own children in school. So trying to make it right, man.
So no karate chops to the kneecap yet, huh?
No, just a kick to the shin.
But you know what? It's weird. I have talking to you before. I said that. I think all of us think we have a little bit of talent, you know, and I told you, I said, you know, I got a little bit of funny in me, you know, but I'm a goofy kind of funny, and I was telling you that Larry Christensen, he is really goofier than I am. He's my teammate from the Phillies. He was one of the starting pitchers of a real good Philly staff, a World Championship staff, and you know, he always calls, my nickname is Blade, and he calls me Silly Blade. And you know what? At first, it really made me mad. And then I thought, you know what? He looked like a big old crane, like a whooping crane. So I backed him off a little bit when I called him Silly Whooping Crane, right? But you know, I was wondering, you know, we think that. Or I thought I was funny. I think some people think they can sing, and you know, you see some of the people on American Idol and stuff like that, to where you see that they definitely can't sing. And I was just wondering, I mean, first of all, you got there, you had the wherewithal to get there in front of the that comedy club the first time. But how do you prepare when you're going to go out there? Because I mean, I guess it's a professional thing, but do you write your own jokes? Do you pick up stuff? Do you pick up funny stuff? How do you go to prepare yourself for a show? Because you do a lot of that stuff.
They say a good comedian will write 15 minutes of new material a year. 15 minutes that is actually funny on stage. And when you do that for 27 years, you end up with a lot of jokes, a lot of material. I hope I come across as telling a story and sharing a little window into my life. And so when something funny happens, or I see something and I put a funny twist on it, I try to see where I can incorporate it into my act. Some of the stuff doesn't come across as very funny. Some of it comes across as hilarious. So it's still hunting and pecking, trying to find the right gem, you know, to put on stage.
Yeah, it's. I was thinking, you know, as being a major league pitcher, and we're pitching in front of it. I was telling the story. I told the story in my book. Like as I promoted, got in the bullpen. But you know, I thought about you know, how in the minor leagues, or even in how, you know, you were nervous in high school, little league, and all that stuff, and as you grow, and all of a sudden in the major leagues, you're pitching in front of 50, 60,000 people, national television, and you had to grow probably like you did as a comedian and try, you know, to go out there and perform in front of people. But probably it's a curse if I even mention that to you. So next time you hit me, smack me in the head or something. But you know, if you go out there and you know, it could be the audience is in a bad mood that day, and you know, you being the clean comedian that you are, which God bless you for that, and 'cause going out there and tell your jokes and they're not going over so good, and then you're out there and hopefully you turn the audience and stuff like that. And you're out there, but with me, shoot, man, if I have a couple bad innings and and the team's got a chance of losing, man, I'm out of there. I'm hooked. And sometimes I hope that I get the hook because I'm hoping, man, they got to get me out of here before I ruin my ERA for the next 6 months. You know what I mean?
How do you do that? Some things are within our control on the performance, and some things are beyond our control. So I just try to, when I drive away from a show, okay, what could I have done different? What could I do better? What was beyond my control? And then I'm at peace with it because I used to let it eat me up. And I tell the young comics, a comedian hears the silence. A joker hears the laughter. So you get some guy that's trying to be a comedian and he goes up and in 10 minutes he gets one laugh. Well, that's all he heard. He didn't hear the other 9 jokes that bombed. But if I'm up there for 15 minutes and one of my jokes doesn't work, that's all I get off stage thinking about. What could I have done different? So that's one of the things that I learned to not let eat me up anymore.
That was the hardest thing for me is being a pitcher, especially when I was first coming up. Is the guys, the older veteran pitchers would always say, "Man, you cannot take that last game, the bad game that you had, and take it into the next game because you're already starting out, in a negative attitude in a negative way." And the hardest thing is to forget about it. And you go to that hotel room at night after a real bad game and staring at the ceiling and thinking, what did I do wrong, stuff like that. Maybe that's what started my drinking. I don't know, but by the grace of God, I'm not anymore. But I was just wondering, what you say you really loved sports and stuff like that. If you were able to say, like, if things were changed and it's Dennis Gaxiola, the major league athlete, which sport would you pick? Would what would you be?
I would have been if I had been able to chase it, I would have been an outfielder. I could really track a fly ball. I understood outfielding, and I played many years of softball in the military, and I was one heck of an outfielder. Didn't have the big cannon. I was always the runt. But I could track a ball. And when I did play hardball, I was real crafty with the bat. Not a lot of power, but during batting practice, the coach would tell me right field, left field, up the middle, lay down a bunt, so I could spray the ball all over the field. But getting hit with the baseball bat at 8 years old made sure I didn't get to play Little League until I was 12. So, my mom would not let me play, and finally my dad was like, let him go play. So I went from missing all those formative years where you get the basics down to being a starting outfielder, and I was scrappy. I had fun, but I think, playing when you're in the military, whatever sport is in, that's what you do. So when it was softball season, that's what I did, 7 days a week almost. And then when it was football season, I'd be out in the football field. And then in basketball season, I could shoot the rock pretty good. So, I had fun for being a runt. But outfield would have been it.
And then if you made anybody mad, you could make them laugh and forget about it, right?
I got out of a lot of fights by having everybody laughing.
That's good. I was wondering if now, did you grow up right there? I forget if you said if you grew up in the Fairfield area, and if you did, you had to be either an Oakland A's or a San Francisco Giants fan. What baseball team was your favorite growing up?
I grew up in Berkeley, and I was an A's fan, still an A's fan. I got a mini ticket season planned because they're my team, and here was my introduction to sports because here I was loving sports as I turned 9-10 years old in the early 70s Well, the baseball team went to the World Series every year, and you won it, 72, 73, 74 with the A's. And then the local basketball team won the NBA championship in 75, and then the Raiders win in 76. So my formative years, I went to a parade every year for a championship in the East Bay. You know,
I was blessed that I was a big Giants fan. I was, you know, the Willie Mays and Willie McCovey and, you know, the Bobby Bonds and, you know, all those guys. And so I watched the Giants, but I always watched the A's win the championships. And I don't know, I was just growing. I grew up as a National League kid, but I was blessed that when I was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers, I got to play on the same team with some of the guys that were winning those championships. And you know, I got to play. Was a teammate of mine, and he also won the MVP the one year. Was Raleigh Fingers, and then the playoff game I started with against the New York Yankees that we thank God we won that one. I looked over to my right, and there was Sal Bando, and so you know, Raleigh Fingers, and Sal Bando, and to be able to hear those two going back and forth in the clubhouse, it was almost I had to pinch myself to say, wow, I pitched against, you know, or I mean, I played on the same team, and then in that game in New York against the Yankees, with Sal to my right, Raleigh was sitting on the bench. He actually came in and saved that game that day, and then one of the guys that I pitched against was Reggie Jackson. And I'm thinking, holy cow! Let's see, we got Raleigh Fingers, we've got Sal Bando, and we've got Reggie Jackson. This can't be real.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Growing up in Berkeley, Claudel Washington was my grandfather's neighbor, a couple of houses down the street. And one night, there's a knock on the door, and it's Reggie Jackson, Vida Blue, and I believe Billy North. We're there to pick up Claudel, but they knocked on the wrong house. They knocked on my grandfather's house, and we were just amazed. And I teased Claudel that the day that I got hit with the baseball bat, I played catch with him, and then he left to the game, and all the kids are excited because Claudel was home, and now he's with the A's, and not even paying attention, one of my friends swings the bat and cracks me in the face. So I teased that I owe 150 stitches to him.
Wow. Well, you know what, Claudel Washington, there's a name from the past, left-handed hitter, right? And he could fly. He was a great player for the A's.
Yes, he was
amazing.
Really good guy. Really good guy. So it's amazing that you crossed paths with all these guys, and man, that you made it to the big show. That's awesome, you know. And but look what God does with our lives, where He takes us no matter what journey we go on, that he brings us back to His purpose in our life, you know, and that's why I'm always amazed at that here I am at this age in my life, celebrating the 16th birthday of my 40th birthday, and to know that God still has a purpose for me is just amazing.
I have a question I've been wanting to ask you that you know, you and I are kind of pretty much from the same area, but the question I wanted to ask is, do you, when you do your comic events and stuff like that, are you able to mix your your evangelism and stuff like that in with it? Do you do that? You try to make it funny, or how does that work?
I keep the two worlds separate by letting my light shine when I'm out in the marketplace. And I can't tell you the number of times people will come up to me and go, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" And I go, "Yeah." And I go, "Wow, we could tell when you're on stage." So I feel blessed on that right there, that, you know, I don't have to go into a nightclub with a Bible, because then you just turn everybody off, you know. But letting your light shine out there, you got to love on people first before you could tell them about the God that loves us. So I was in Sacramento at a Laughs Unlimited in old Sacramento, and had a great show. The lineup was hot, and I made fun of this guy, and he comes up to me after, he was real pale Latino guy, and I teased him that he looked so pale, and he had a Raiders hat on. I said, "You look like the ghost of Raiders past," and everybody laughed. Well, he came up to me and explained. He goes, "I'm pale because I had chemo today. I have stage 4 cancer." Well, there's nothing funny about that, but here we are, 5 feet, 10 feet from the bar, standing right there in front of the bar, and I just witnessed to him. And I said, God delivered my wife from cancer, and can I pray with you? A month later, he hits me up that he was free of cancer, and that's I get blessed out of something like that, to know that I can go into a club and let my light shine a little bit, or just a little bit of light in darkness is pretty bright, and share Jesus' love with them on a one-on-one basis by opening the door, but just being a real person, not trying to act pretentious or better than anybody, just being real.
I love that. That's a great story for God's Miracle Show, right?
Yes.
But I was wondering also, Dennis, you're a busy guy, and what are some of your upcoming events? I mean, how can people track you down, my friend?
The schedule is crazy right now in a really good, blessed way. I usually just update stuff on social media, but in the Bay Area, I'll be at Tommy T's in May. I'm on the Fluffy tour in May. I'll be up in the Sacramento area at Trinity on April 19th. I think that's the Sunday, April 19th. I'll be at Trinity right there in the North Highlands area. So I'm actually March 15th, a couple of weeks from now, about a week from now, I guess, I'll be at Last Unlimited doing a fundraiser on a Sunday afternoon. So I usually just tell people, look me up at Comedian Dennis on social media, and I'm usually filtering out where I'm going to be. I try not to swamp people with everything, but I'm blessed that I stay busy and I'm able to support my family while sharing some love and laughter. It's just I get blown away by it all the time.
Well, you are definitely good people, my friend. I'm happy to call you friend. I was wondering, don't forget me. I know you won't. Maybe one of these days I can go with you to one of your speaking events to share the Lord.
Oh, I'd love to, bro. And I'm excited when I tell people about you and trying to open doors for you more and more. I can maybe just carry in your luggage while we get you people to hear what God has done in your life. It's just an amazing story, an amazing turnaround.
I appreciate that. Everyone, I'm here with comedian Dennis Gaxiola, and we've been sharing his story today. And Dennis, I just want to thank you so much for being on the show with me today, buddy.
Well, it's an honor to be on this with you, and I really appreciate you having me, bro.
Well, you have safe travels, and we'll be talking soon.
Definitely, Randy. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to sharing some time with you, maybe on the golf course or grabbing a cup of coffee, but I'm looking forward to hanging out with you, brother.
Same here. Take care, my friend.
Okay, God bless. Bye-bye.
I want to thank everyone for listening today to God's Miracle, and thanks for my special guest, Dennis Gaxiola, for being here today. You've been listening to the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. This is Randy Lerch saying bye-bye.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned Network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.